for me, I get the most satisfaction when I see how their lives turn out. I stay in touch with all my players and stuff like that. So when I see how their life turn out, and I see the team come together, where everybody's thinking about their brother, they're not thinking about self. It's a certain synergy when the parts, the team is better than the sum of its parts. You can see it, and the fans can see it, and people want to be a part of a movement. It's like if you ever watch Pete Carroll's teams, there's a certain energy that creates when everybody is playing for each other, and it's not about me, it's about the collective, it's about the group. It has a certain energy that just people want to be around, and it's a beautiful thing to show them this is how life is supposed to be run. You're going to have a family.
We're sitting here talking to Damaine Powell, at least 28 years professional coaching, the head coach right now at Loyola,
Yes,
also
sir.
math teacher as well.
Yes, sir.
Which is interesting because you're a math teacher. However, you got your undergraduate degree, bachelor's, and your master's in history from USC whilst playing there as well.
That's always been my passion, history along with basketball and even math. That was my minor at USC. So I've been very fortunate. After I was done playing at USC, the coaches recruited me to stay and be a coach.
Yep.
At the same time, the coaches was recruiting me. The history department was recruiting me to continue on and get a master's degree. They really wanted me to continue to get a PhD, and so they gave me a scholarship.
They give you a scholarship to pursue your degree in history.
Yeah. So
were you torn between the two? Because those are two different things. And by the way, Raveling at the time said he knew you were going to be a coach. He knew, he could see it when you were playing.
That's funny you say that. Rav was the best coach I've ever been around. He was very demanding, super smart. And the thing I like about Coach Rav that separates him from everybody is he cares about his players. And every day he gave us a life lesson. I'm talking about every day. He gave us a 5-minute to 20-minute lesson on just life lessons. How to say thank you, how to look people in the eye. Just every day it was lessons I still remember to this day.
His notion was he was coaching players, but he was also coaching young men into being
no
men.
doubt about it. Some coaches would say that, but he really lived it.
Yeah.
He would buy me books on the road. We'd be in New York, and he'd knock on my hotel room, and I thought I was in trouble, my defense or something.
Yeah.
And he said, I was at the mall. I thought about you. I picked up these 2 books. Read these, and let's talk about it next week.
He deeply cared about you and put that into practice.
Yes, everybody. And a lot of times when you heard from Rav, it wasn't good.
He was a hard-nosed coach, too.
Oh, super hard, super demanding,
So he had both sides. He had that strength, but also that sensitivity.
No doubt about it.
Ralph Tresvant of it all.
Yeah.
The Mike Tyson.
No
the
doubt about
the man with sensitivity, but he could also throw a fist.
Yeah, and Coach Rav, he was hard on his point guards because before me, Robert Pack was in the NBA. After Robert Pack was Dwayne Cooper, and then I was next. And they sat me down when I got there and say, look, coach is going to be hard on you.
Yeah.
Keep your confidence. But he was hard. We took it because we knew he cared. He would knock on my door on the road. We'd be in New York and say, hey, I was in the mall. These 2 books, I think you could really benefit from it. Read these books and let's talk about it next week. And I just
a coach giving books.
Oh, that's amazing. And he knew I would read it.
Right.
You get books to some people.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Or I could flip it upside down and pretend you're reading and try to pick up a girl with it. You actually would read it.
I would actually read it.
You do some of the same things now as you coach.
No doubt about it. I mimic him in so many ways.
Was he the most important, or does he have the deepest imprint on you as a coach?
Yeah, yes, he did. Because I just liked how he did it, and all the players would run through a wall for him. And I think you get the most out of players when they know you care. Because then you can push them really hard.
Well, there's trust there when they know you really care.
There's
you can say you care.
Super trust there, and that can't be faked. Sometimes they say a dog can smell fear and all these things. You can't fake it. Either you really care, and guys know you really care about their future, about their well-being.
It's the little actions and moments when you can tell someone's lying or not.
Yeah, you can tell it. You sniff it out. Just like a dog can smell fear. You can sniff it out. You can't fake it. And
you are famous for surrounding yourself with good people. That's one of your edicts. You must surround yourself with good people, and then good things happen. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I've always just tried to learn from the best. So I spent a lot of time with Woody Washington, who was a coach of the year at Drake.
Yep.
He was one of the founding members of the Black Coaches Association. I've learned most of the things from him. He's been my mentor. Even to this day, I still talk to him. One of the smartest guys I've ever known. He pretty much raised me. He's like my dad in the coaching world. And to this day, I talked to him yesterday. And so
often you talk to him?
Still talk to him. And all my mentors,
What's the best lesson you learned from him?
One of the best lessons I learned from him is just the ability to listen, because he took me around a lot of powerful rooms, and you can appreciate this. The first time he took me somewhere, I was in a room with Sonny Vaccaro, John Chaney, John Thompson, and
wow.
I'm in this room and they're discussing something, and I'm spewing off my opinion. I'm a young, snotty-nosed coach.
Did he just yank you and say, just zip it?
He didn't do it. He didn't embarrass me. But
Okay.
after the meeting,
What did he
said,
say?
"Hey, listen, when you're in a room with those kind of guys, they don't necessarily want to hear from some young coach. Just listen, and just listen and learn and speak to when spoken to." And
That you were even in the room is exceptional.
yeah, I think he thought a lot for me to do. He's always teaching me.
And Sonny Vaccaro, just to go back a little bit for people who don't recognize some of these names, Sonny Vaccaro, even you talk about Raveling and Sonny Vaccaro, what's the triangulation with maybe Jordan as an example, or the Nike brand? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Sonny Vaccaro is almost like the godfather of grassroots basketball. He discovered, he saw the talent in Jordan, and he saw his marketing potential at a young age.
When he was working with Nike.
When he was working with Nike. And then he went to Adidas and did the same thing. And so Sonny has always been like the most respected man in high school, college basketball, because he had a lot of power and people respected him. So
and Raveling, how does he fit into the Michael Jordan world?
Raveling had coached Jordan in on Team USA when they won the Olympics in '84.
Yeah.
And they developed a really close relationship.
And trust, by the way.
Trust, the same thing.
And by the way, that trust led Michael Jordan
to go to Nike, and the rest is history.
So Vaccaro's at Nike. He's trying to get Jordan. Jordan wants to go to Adidas. Famously, Jordan would play in Converse when he was playing for North Carolina, but as soon as the game was over, because they were sponsored by Converse, as soon as the game was over, he would throw on his Adidas because that's where everyone was going. That's where he wanted to go.
That's where everybody was at the time. Nike was like a side.
Oh, they were a running shoe, right?
Yeah,
and so of course you had Converse, who had Bird and Magic, and they were the rivals and all the stuff with that. But he wanted to go to Adidas, but he goes to Nike famously because why?
I think, to me, it was the relationship with Coach Rav. That same trust I had in him. Obviously, they built that same trust through the Olympics that year. And I think he got him in the room. And once he got him in the room, along with Sonny, if you've ever been around Sonny, he's a hell of a seller.
Charismatic individual.
Oh, man. He can sell anything to anybody. So he tried to sell me on a couple things, and I almost said yes without even talking to my wife or something, But you get in the room with Sonny, it's hard to tell him no. It's really hard to tell Sonny no. So I think the relationship with Rav got him into the room, and then together they were able to paint a vision and of what it could be. And, the rest is history. I think he's like the only guy, a $1 billion guy just off, his marketing with Nike and the partnership, So it's a great story,
The course of basketball and shoes and the relationship between the two changed because there were other people involved, of course, Phil Knight. But those three, Vaccaro, Raveling, Jordan.
No doubt
And by the way, just to rewind back a little bit, you're in the room with two of the three of those guys.
Yes, and those are just great men. I try to learn from them, and I've been very blessed in my career, and I've tried to take a lot from each person I've learned from, the successful people, and blend it into my own personality. And the common theme with Sonny and Rav and all these great men is they use their talent and their knowledge to serve others. This wasn't...
Talk about that. That's what I wanted to get to. It's counterintuitive to some people because these guys are, they are on the, I don't want to say they're on the Mount Rushmore because there's more than five, but they are all-time greats in the game of basketball. American basketball, therefore the world, all-time greats. And one could imagine they would be self-centered, serving themselves only.
Yeah, no, these guys were all about helping people. You can't even count how many people Rav helped. You can't even count how many people Sonny helped across the nation that nobody knows about. So these guys, they use their power, their position, their money just to help people, and that's like their life mission. And over the course of helping so many people, they got blessed along the way. They've had great lives, and they're finally kind of getting acknowledged for their greatness. Rav and Rudy Washington and Sonny Vaccaro.
Well, talk about Rudy a little bit because you've mentioned him a couple times, and I've steered us into another direction. But talk about Rudy a little bit.
Rudy, he's another great one. He's one of the founders of the BCA.
BCA, for people who aren't familiar with BCA,
it's the Black Coach Association, and they started that because a lot of blacks wasn't given the opportunity. They were using blacks as recruiters and this and that, but they wasn't given a chance.
Started in '85. What you?
In '85. Okay. I think was only one or two. It was like John Chaney and John Thompson, were like really the only two.
Yeah.
And so they really wanted to try to get more opportunity. Again, think about others. and so they started that to get a conversation going with the ADs and the presidents to just get more opportunities to African American coaches who had earned the opportunity. And so I learned a lot from him. He coached me in life. He coached me in basketball. He hired me. I left USC after coaching there for 3 years under Henry Biggie.
Yep.
He hired me from USC to be the head coach at Compton College. I was 23 years old.
23. 24. You won the first. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I won at 23. Think about
Not
this.
24.
I was 23 years old when I won the first one.
My
the
researchers are fired.
Yeah.
I'm the researcher. Go ahead.
I've been told I was the youngest coach in the history of college basketball to win a championship at 23. Think about this. I was talking to my son. I think Shedeur Sanders is 23.
Yeah.
Last year when Miami went to the Final Four, Final Eight, the average age of the starting five was 24. I was already done with college, got my degrees, got my master's degree, and I was coaching at 23. Some guys are still playing college at 23.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
But,
and you led the Tars to a 27-3 record in the championship.
But that was a lot of Rudy Washington. He really coached the coach. He helped me put out fires. He showed me how to blend a team, motivate guys.
Well, there's a lot of trust in him and you. I know that you trusted him, but to have him trust you in that way, and to have the AD, and to have everybody trust you, your players as well.
Yeah, I just think that people saw something in me, that they knew that they could trust me or I could get the job done. Like even when I was at USC, I was a young coach under Henry Bibby, and he gave me more responsibility than coaches on our staff that have been coaching for 30 years. He gave me the UCLA scout. He gave me the Arizona scout.
UCLA scout, for people who don't understand what that means in Southern California. UCLA, obviously perennial powerhouse, and your crosstown rivals, and you lose 1 or 2 or 3 of those games, you're on the hot seat.
You out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have Bibby and Charles Parker, not the saxophone player, but Charles Parker, the coach, who trusted you.
Yeah. And so I think it's part luck. I think it's part results. And people see you successful with a little bit, they give you a little bit more responsibility. I think that's how it grows. And
is that how it grows with children too? Like when you coach with your children, but also with your players, a little bit more over time.
Yeah, you earn that right over time. You earn the trust of people over time, and those are biblical principles. God says He give you whatever you do with a little, responsibility, then you get blessed with a little bit more.
Are you a man of faith?
Big time faith. Yeah. And Rudy and Carol, they talk about biblical principles. You use your talent, your position, not for self-benefit. You use it to benefit others.
Which is ostensibly a paradox, right? Because you're in something that requires you to have a drive, a motivation. You had individual accolades. You were given a head coaching job at 23 years old. Yet you do so in service of a greater or different, minimally an external variable.
And these are things I learned from those guys. My first championship, we never talked about a championship. When I went back to Compton, I was born and raised in Compton. So it was bad. And I tell you a funny story. I asked my dad one time, because our whole street was filled with drugs, shooting, gangbanging. And I asked my dad, when I got older, like, Dad, why didn't you move? Like, why would you raise us in that environment?
To what you said? And
he said, hey, son, Compton's a good community. If you just take away the gangbanging and the drugs and the shooting. I said, yeah, if you just take that out. But, he grew up in Compton, and it had changed. Yeah. When he grew up there, it was a upper middle class, and it still is. It's good people there, mostly good people. But when I went back to Compton to coach, the kids there, it had gotten worse. And my only goal was to help those kids have the discipline, the kind of personality where they can survive and function in mainstream America, because they're so isolated over there. A lot of kids never left Compton, if you can believe that. I'm one of them. I never left Compton. The first time I had been to Beverly Hills is when I signed with USC.
Oh my gosh.
The first time, so I'm
Beverly Hills is just so people know,
15 minutes to the west. Yeah. So I'm going down Rodeo Drive.
With good traffic.
Yeah. I'm driving down Rodeo Drive for the first time thinking like, this is what I've seen in the movies.
Yeah. And it's literally
15 minutes
adjacent
away.
hamlet.
It's adjacent. So I know how it is growing up there. So my only goal, my first year, was to get them to be disciplined enough, be able to talk, present themselves, take authority, so they can function in mainstream America.
You get pulled up, help others come up.
Yeah. And so
was that your calling? You felt like it was your calling?
I definitely think it was my calling, because who else can do it better than me? A kid who was born in Compton, raised in Compton, made it out of Compton. I got cultured.
You're a walking billboard for success in that regard.
Yeah. So then I turned back, and so I just felt like God was calling me there, and it was a perfect time. And That year we won the championship. 7 guys got scholarships.
That must have been incredibly fulfilling.
Very fulfilling, and all of them are doing well. They got families, they own homes.
So I mean, they have families and have homes.
Oh, it's a blessing, and it's not always a good story. One kid got murdered, so it's
One
not
of your
all,
players?
Yeah, it's not all great, but
One of your players during the time you were coaching?
later on in life, like a couple years after.
How do you handle that?
It's tough on us, because you spend a lot of time, and these are good people. Like, people laugh when you say a gangster or a guy that got, a background. It's like, these are good guys, They've been raised in a product, an environment where they've had to make some choices. But if you know them, they're good people. They just want a chance at life. They just want a chance, And I was trying to help them get that chance. And some people made it, and some people didn't get, just never could escape that environment. You know what I mean? It's kind of a sad commentary.
So how are you doing today with that larger project?
I'm still helping. I'm kind of in the stage now. I'm 51, so I'm kind of in that stage. I'm the Rudy Washington now in my little world.
Yep.
And now I want to use my connections, because I've kind of been raised in the business. I know everybody. These are my friends that we grew up in the business. They're ADs now. They're people I grew up with. They're head coaches at all levels, D2, D3. They're administrators. And now I try to use my position to help younger kids get opportunities and take advantage of them when they get it.
Do you, generally speaking, do they take advantage of them? Do they see them, or is it hard for them to understand?
Sometimes I help a kid get somewhere, and then they leave, or they quit, or they transfer. And so, no, I wish it was a fairy tale for everybody who got an opportunity to take advantage of it. But, I just think my job is to get them there and give them the opportunity. And some take advantage, and some you wish it worked out differently,
You are known for your no-nonsense approach to the game and your attention to detail. Was that always the case? Did you learn that from Rav or someone else?
Yeah, I learned from so many people. Yeah, I learned that from all the coaches, all the successful people. I like to read a lot, so I read successful business people.
Did you like to read a lot before Rav or because of Rav?
I've always been a reader.
Okay.
I've always been a cerebral guy. I wasn't the most talented guy, so I'm looking for every edge I can get.
Well, you were considered a defense and rebounds guy,
Yeah,
and that's won you championships.
Yeah, exactly. So, and those things take no talent to defend and rebound. Everybody can do that at a high level.
Say that again.
Yeah, those things take no talent. Everybody can defend and rebound at a high level if you have the correct heart desire and the toughness, and you want to sacrifice for the team.
Has that always been how you built your teams?
Always. I won a cup, and it's always been defense, rebounding, and teamwork. And it sounds easier. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, do people buy into that? Because people aren't getting the rock as much. They're not getting enough shots. It's harder. It's exhausting. It's not glamorous.
But this is when your Sonny Vaccaro comes in. You have to sell. All great coaches are salesmen. I think all great business people, at the end of the day, they sell. They're selling something. For me, I had to sell that if you sacrifice more and you don't focus on scoring and shooting, you can get everything you want out of it. You'll get more out of it. And so that first year coming to college, it was a tough time selling those guys and just not worrying about scoring, but let's focus on defense, rebounding, togetherness. And that one team had 7 guys get Division I scholarships, and one guy made the NBA. But you're selling. You're trying to sell them a dream different, a vision different than what their friends are telling them, or their families telling them, shoot, shoot, shoot.
But it's a long dream, and how do they know that you're selling them something that's real versus just selling them?
Well,
because people get sold all the time. Buy this, you can do that, jump higher, live longer.
So I just think it's just it's a process, and it goes back to trust. When they trust you, then they'll believe in what you're selling.
How do you develop trust?
Well, you spend time, and you got to help people. I spent a lot of time buying groceries for kids that didn't have food. Me and my friend, one of my coaches said, a Happy Meal can go a long way to a poor kid. You taking to McDonald's, getting them a Happy Meal and some apple pie, that go a long way for people who not eating. So I did little stuff like that. Let's go eat. Just talking to them. Let's go to McDonald's. Let's get a value meal. And just little stuff where you spend time with them. And when they're starving, and you're there for them, and you're just there for them at all times. And people know, they can smell it if you genuinely care about the person, or you just trying to pimp them to get the talent out. And I've always been a guy that just wanted to help them. It's not about wins and losses, because to me, the wins is when you're done with college, are you gonna get married, get a job, and be a functioning person in society?
That's what your game is. That's
Yes.
what you're after.
Yeah, at the end of the day. And now, if you train them to do that, they'll win some games too. Because to accomplish that, you got to be disciplined. I don't know if you're a dad or not. Are you a dad, a father?
As far as I know.
Okay. It's very selfless.
Yeah.
You sacrifice a lot for the group.
I hope my kids are listening to this.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it.
You don't get a lot of approval all the time.
No, you get kicked in the.
Yeah,
You get kicked somewhere
So
often.
it's the same
metaphorically, of
values
course.
that you try to tuck in your team.
Yeah.
You're looking for delayed gratification, and your kids will appreciate you when they get older, and they'll look back and say, "Man, my dad sacrificed so much for me." But you don't get it right away. You sacrifice for the group, and
But some people, I would imagine most of your players probably don't come back and tell you that, or maybe they do to some level, but it's certainly disproportionate to the amount of effort, sacrifice, money, time you put into it.
no doubt about it.
So do you do it for that quiet, grown man self-satisfaction, just knowing you did it for the right reasons?
Yeah, and you don't reach
Not to
everybody.
pitch you a softball question, but it's a real
Yeah,
question.
no doubt about it. It's very rewarding, but you don't always hear back. Nobody, not once every out of 100, somebody will come back and tell you the impact they had.
So when do you get your satisfaction? Is it on the court when you see a team apply hard-nosed defense? Is it just quietly at night, or is it in the moment when you're taking someone out for an honest McDonald's meal? What is it?
Yeah, you just try to enjoy the journey. For me, I get the most satisfaction when I see how their lives turn out. I stay in touch with all my players and stuff like that. So when I see how their life turn out, and I see the team come together, where everybody's thinking about their brother, they're not thinking about self. It's a certain synergy when the parts, the team is better than the sum of its parts. You can see it, and the fans can see it, and people want to be a part of a movement. It's like if you ever watch Pete Carroll's teams, there's a certain energy that creates when everybody is playing for each other, and it's not about me, it's about the collective, it's about the group. It has a certain energy that just people want to be around, and it's a beautiful thing to show them this is how life is supposed to be run. You're going to have a family, you're going to be part of a business, and you got to be selfless, and you got to work hard, and you might not get recognition, you might not get the approval.
Can you always manufacture that, or is that just something that sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't? When it does, you're in the fog of the beauty of the magic of the thing, and you just witness it. Like, how does that happen?
It doesn't happen all the time. But I would say this: I'm always trying to recreate it because it's random. But when I've achieved it, it's usually been because I've had a generational internal leader, and those come along every blue moon. But I'm always going to lead from the outside as a coach. But the teams that have achieved that kind of thing we're talking about, they had generational internal leaders that echo my sentiment, and guys followed. And I've had maybe 3 of those guys in 27 years that were just generational leaders. So a lot of it is always comes down to talent. I remember Tim Floyd told me something. It's always about player personnel. Don't think great coach. Because I've probably been to 100 practices with Tim Floyd.
Tim Floyd, by the way, another Jordan.
Oh yeah,
interact.
yeah. And one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, as
So
far as
did he
pure
coach-
IQ.
He coached at Iowa, is that right?
Coached
Before
at
that?
Iowa.
And then was pulled up to the Bulls.
No, he was at Iowa State.
Iowa State, yeah.
Yeah,
He coached at Iowa State, then was pulled up to the Bulls.
He spent some time with the Hornets.
Yep. You said one of the smartest coaches you've ever met.
The smartest people on earth. I wonder what his IQ is. And he plays down. Like he doesn't. That's the smartest people I've been around. They don't broadcast that they're smart. They like for you to underestimate them. They come off like, like they don't know much, but
Yes, we do. And also humble.
Yeah, yes, we do. Yeah, so,
I'm kidding.
but Tim Floyd always told me, like, I've had my greatest teams, but I've had great leaders. And then he's like, Damaine, it's always about player personnel. It's, you're only as good as your player. One practice I went to, and Tim Floyd's been known as one of the best defensive coaches in the country.
Yep.
And
Another hard-nosed coach.
Hard-nosed. In one game, he gave up like 85 points at USC. So that Monday, I came to practice. I was like, Coach, what happened? Like, you Tim Floyd. Like, how did they get 85 on Tim Floyd coach team?
And then he's your spiritual cousin because you're a hard-nosed
Same
defense
thing.
rebound guy.
And
To which he says what?
He said, Coach, 2 players were out injured. And don't ever forget, we like to think we're these great coaches, but it always comes down to player personnel. And with 2 or 3 guys out, we're not the same team, and you're only as good as your talent. And I think I was telling my son this. You look at what's the coach of the Denver Broncos right now, Peyton.
Sean Payton.
Okay, he did a lot of talking, and he talked about how bad the coaching was. But what he failed to realize,
Is this what Aaron Rodgers says? That's my quarterback, or that's my coach.
That's my coach.
That's my coach.
And he came in, he thought he was going to turn around, but he's coaching the same guys that failed last year. It's always about player personnel. You thought he was this great coach, but you're coaching the same guys. It's a player personnel business. And you're only as good as your players and the players you cultivate and all that stuff. So I try to stay humble. I've had some good things. When I've had great seasons and great things happen, I've had great player personnel and great people.
What's the difference?
Well, you can have great players that are not great leaders.
Yeah.
That are not great for team building.
Is that your number one job? Is to find great people who are also good players?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's in every institution, right? You want to get the best people in the building, then you can put them in different spots, right, where they can succeed. But the first thing is to acquire the human resources, right?
So you're a math teacher, and yes, you're a history major, a degree holder. But what you really are is you are a chemist.
Yeah, exactly.
You were looking for the right chemistry to build the right team.
And it's every year it's a puzzle, to put that chemistry together. Who goes where? Who's doing what great? How do I take advantage of his talent and blend it with this guy's talent? What group works in concert with what group? So every year it's a word puzzle. It's a challenge to create that chemistry you talk about.
This year?
This year.
With your team playing who started 3 minutes ago, and you were so selfless, you were allowing your assistant coach to coach while you're here talking to us. I appreciate it. We'll still get you out of here very soon.
No problem. This year we're very excited. We got, I think, a generational leader that I've talked about, maybe a couple of them on one team, and we're not the most.
How do you balance that?
Well, you try to play to their strength and let them lead. Yeah. Put them in position and empower them. And we got a really good team. We played Mater Dei, who won Division I last year. They got everybody back. We played them to a 10-point game. With 3 minutes ago, we were down 3. And
today?
Last week. And so we know we got a good thing going. And again, for me, it's not about winning. We can just try to get the most out of this group, and let's see where that leads us.
When you have generational talent or generational talents on your team, do you get nervous? Do you try to hold it tight? Do you try to stay loose? How do you handle that when you know it's right in front of you and you know what it can do?
Well, I've always with talent, they need the confidence and the space to be great. I think when you have great talent, you want to lessen the thinking and just let them play fast. Let them, so you just give them you want to empower them. I want my players to be confident. I don't want them second guessing. Yeah. I don't want them to play with self-doubt. So when you get talent and you get great leaders, then you want to step back and allow them to let their natural talent and leadership flow.
I know one of the low points you mentioned before was losing a former player. What has been the highest point you've had as a basketball coach?
Man, I've been very blessed. I think the highest point I had was that very first championship at 23.
Did you know what it was when you did it?
I didn't, but I just knew that, Compton hadn't won a championship, Compton College, in 30 years. Since Tex Winter. The last guy to win a championship was Tex Winter.
Who is? This is a Jordan.
Yeah. I get it. It's all come back to Jordan.
It does, man. The Jordan constellation. So
Tex Winter was the designer of the triple offense, the low post,
the triangle offense. Yeah.
And that's what Phil Jackson ran. They ran 9 rings.
In Chicago,
yeah.
In LA.
So he designed it. He was the last coach at Compton College to win a championship, was Tex Winter. This banner is still up there next to mine. And
that's incredible.
And it was just good to see a bunch of disenfranchised kids have success, get recruited, get out of Compton, see the world. And we shared a great moment together. A bunch of great kids who had a tough upbringing, who had to overcome a lot just to get to Compton College. To see them celebrated and happy and move on to bigger and better things, I couldn't have been happier with that. We sung songs on the bus on the way home, and it was like a party on that bus. The first championship, we cut the nest down at UC Irvine, so we drove from Irvine back to Compton.
Which is how far?
20 minutes.
Yep.
And it was a party, and I was just happy for myself and for the guys, and I knew they were on their way. And to see it all come together, the things we have been preaching, and nobody thought we can do it. Even ourselves, we never talked about it, but we just kind of kept winning. And as you keep winning, you're like, well, man, we're right there now.
But you're getting closer. You're getting closer and closer to winning. Do you talk about it then?
We didn't even talk about it because we were just so focused on the next game. That's kind of my philosophy on championships. You can only control that practice.
Well,
that
you're
game.
known for not looking back on the last game and how bad it was, or how
You got to move on. Yeah.
so focusing on how hard people are going in the next practice.
Yeah. So
What's that about it? Is for?
You know, you want to stay in the moment. You know, Phil Jackson talks a lot about that. You want to stay in the moment, stay present.
You've met Phil Jackson?
I've never met him, but I've read his books. You know,
yeah.
and so you know,
I figure why not? He's the number
Yeah,
19
yeah,
in this
Jordan,
this
yeah.
this Jordan constellation.
Yeah. So you just stay in the moment and prepare the best you can, and relax. Try to have fun, and you play your best when you relax. You have fun, and you let the chips fall where they may. I tell you a funny story about that first championship. I'm in the locker room, and you know, one of my best friends today is a guy named Cameron Dollar. He was the point guard that led UCLA on the 1994 championship team.
Didn't he have that great coast to coast run?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Layup.
Yeah. And so we both got into coaching. We ended up becoming really almost best friends and stuff. And he came to the game, and so I had him come speak to the team before our first championship. And I was nervous. I'm 23 years old. We're at the UCLA Vine. It's packed. This is like something out of a Disney movie, a bunch of Compton kids, you know, making all. So I'm writing on the board, and my hand is shaking. And my best player.
Your hand is shaking when you're writing your plays?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And one of my best players said, "Coach, you making me nervous, Coach." And so Dollar gave a speech. Cameron Dollar gave a speech, and he talked about just relaxing, going having fun. You're going to play your best. People get to these stages and get nervous and scared. I want you guys to play like you at the park and act like this is just another park ball. And it took the heat. We just relaxed. Even myself took a big, and we went out there and jumped on the team and won it. But that was the beginning of a long friendship with me and Cameron Dollar. Another guy I learned from a lot too.
It's beautiful. Did you ever say to him when you guys were playing USC and UCLA, do you ever say, if you don't sit your dollar blank down, I'll make change? You're one of those like New Jack City kind of love?
Dollar was a tough guy, man.
Yeah,
you know?
You didn't want to mess with him. He'll make change.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. I know you got to get over here. Thank you so much. I look forward to catching up with you down the line and see how things are going. I appreciate your time now, especially knowing that you're 9 minutes into your game and you're sitting here talking to us.
You guys do a great job. Great interview. You do a great job.
Thank you very much. I do the same thing you do. Just try to create space and have someone do their thing. So
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's great. Ciao.